Assalamu alaikum students, this is Farwa Batul, your O-level computer science instructor, and welcome to another video for chapter number 8 programming. We are doing the topic of totaling and counting. We have already seen this topic using Python and using Visual Basic. Now in this video I'm going to talk about Java as my programming language in order to demonstrate you what is totaling and counting. So we are using here Java programming language. Okay, now let's get into the topic. The first thing that I want to explain you is the meaning of totaling and counting in programming. So let's take an example for this. Let's suppose I went to a shop in order to buy some items. So I had my card in which I'm putting some of my items, and once I finish buying, let's suppose I bought 3 items. First one was a pack of eggs. Second one was milk. And the third one was butter. So these are the 3 items that I wanted to purchase. Now, once I selected all of my items and put it in my cart, then I will go for billing. In the billing, what they will actually do, they will count the number of items that you have selected or purchased. So the first thing they would know when they will make up your list, so it will be number of items, that how many items you purchased, and then the price of each of your items. So the first thing is, the first item is number 1, milk, and let's write down the name of the item, that is milk. And let's suppose it is $10. The second item you purchased was eggs, and let's suppose it is $5. And the third one was butter, that is, let's suppose $20, and it is my third item. So that is actually the billing that comes up in your hand once you finish buying. Okay, now what is the purpose of counting and totaling here? Remember that when you are counting, so it means you are counting the individual items that you have purchased. So it will be 1, 2, 3. So here for the result of counting, we will write there are 3 items that I have purchased. This counting, when you are counting the objects or counting the number of items or counting the number of students in a class, so it is like that. Totaling is basically when you are finding out the sum of the different numbers that you have. So here I have 10, 5 and 20. I have 3 different numbers that are my prices for the different items. I will do the totaling as 10 plus 5 plus 20. So it will be 15 plus 20, 35. That is going to be the result of totaling. So I hope that the concept is clear to you. In counting, we are counting the different objects, whereas in totaling, we are finding out the sum of the different quantities or the different prices or the different marks of the students that we have. So this is what is actually done. Now, let's quickly move towards the syntax of Java that we can use in order to count and in order to perform totaling. So the first thing is counting. When we talk about, the first thing is let's talk about totaling first. So totaling is basically, let's suppose you have, in this example, you had a price for individual item and then you have to calculate for the total price. Total price. So how my formula will come up? The formula will be total price equals total price plus price. That is the individual price of the item. Now let me just dry run this in order to make you understand. When you have 3 items, you have, let's suppose for the first, you will do it in a loop structure so that it will be done until your items will finish. So for the first iteration, the price was $5. So initially you know that the total price is 0 when you haven't calculated that, so it must have no value or it is 0 in the beginning. So 0 plus 5 becomes 5. So now the changes are basically done in the total price variable. So we will update total price as 5. Now for the second iteration, the number of item was changed and now the price for the second item was $10. So in this case, now what will happen in the formula for the second iteration? You will see that total price was 5, then plus, now the price of the item individual was 10. So 5 plus 10 becomes 15. So 15 is going to be the updated value of total price. So you can see that every time you are making changes in the variable total price. Number 3, the third iteration, the price was 20 for the milk, $20. So now what will happen for the third iteration when we will run the program, it will be, since total price was updated to 15 in my previous iteration, I will write 15, then it will be plus 20 and the result becomes 35, which will be saved in the total price variable since you have written total price on your left side. So 35 is going to be the final result. This is how this formula calculates the total price of this particular example. Now, this formula can be named in different ways, depends upon your activity. We will do activity 8.6, 8.7 in just a few minutes. So you will see that how I will rename this formula. But keep in mind that the formula remains same. Only what you can change is the variable names that you are using in it. Okay. So next what you have is counting. Okay. So counting in Java is done by using a formula that is, let's suppose I had number of items that I must count. So number of items plus plus. That is basically the increment statement. This statement basically add once into the variable whenever the line of code is going to run. Whenever this line of code will run, 1 will be added to the previous value of number of items. So for the first iteration, let's suppose number of items was 0. So for the second iteration, 0 plus 1 becomes 1. 1 is the new value for number of items. For the second iteration, it will be 1 plus 1 equals 2. For the third iteration, it will be 2 plus 1 equals 3. So you can also write this formula simply by saying number of items, that's the name of your variable that is used for counting, equals number of items, that is the same variable, plus 1. So just look at this. It just demonstrates us that whatever the value of number of item is, let's suppose it is 0. So 0 plus 1 becomes 1 and 1 will be the new value for the number of items. So every time when you will run this code, the number of items will be incremented by 1. So it will be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. These are just like the counters that we are using in loop structures. So I hope that it is clear to you that in order to do counting, we just write the variable name and write down plus plus following that. Now I'm quickly moving towards activity 8.7 so that I can explain you everything about totaling and counting by doing this. Now look at this. In the high level programming language that your school has chosen to use, write and run a short program using a condition control loop to allow the user to input the weight of sack of rice and to count the number of sacks the user has input. When the user types -1, he should stop the process and the program should then output the number of sacks entered and the total weight. Okay, So the first thing mentioned is you must use condition control loop for this. Condition controlled loop. So in a condition control loop, you can use a precondition loop and you can use a post condition loop. Why I'm going to use a precondition loop? Because you can have a condition where you have no sack of rice. So if the user enters -1 for the first time, then he will never go inside the loop because the condition will be mentioned at the top in a precondition loop. So when the condition will be false, then you will never go inside your loop. So that is why I'm using a precondition loop in order to um, just in order to make sure that if the user has nothing, no sack of rice, then you will not go inside your loop. You will just skip the loop and just tell the output that there is no sack of rice. And in a post condition loop, if you will choose this one, so the loop must be run at least once. Once you have to run the loop. So that is not necessary in a condition when you have no sack of rice. So I hope it is clear to you now. Let me quickly move towards how we can do this example. The first thing here is the condition control loop that you have to use, that is the while loop. We are using while loop in which we specify the condition that you have to check in order to run the loop. The second thing is you have to take the input from the user. And what is the input? It is the weight of the sack of rice. The user has different sack of rice and we don't know the exact quantity, that how many he has. What actually he needs to do, he need to give us the input of the weight of sack of rice. So we will keep getting this input until the user inputs the value -1. When the user inputs a value -1, we will terminate our loop because it indicates that the user doesn't have any more sack of rice. So all sack of rice are finished, or the weight of sack of rice are being entered by the user. So when it enters -1, remember that there will be no iteration and you will go out of your loop. Now, the third thing is once you are done taking the inputs, you will do the process of totaling and counting. Sorry, it is counting, not, I made a mistake. So in the to use totaling, what you have to total, you have to total the weight of all the sack of rice that he has entered individually. And when you are using counting, you must increment the number of sacks that are being entered by the user. So this is how you have to use these processes. And the fourth thing, once you are done with this, then you have to show the output, and in the output there will be two displays to the user. The first, the user will see the total weight of the sack of rice, that how many sack of, what are the total weight of all my sack of rice that I have entered, and what are the number of sack of rice that I have entered. So these are basically going to be the result of this particular program. So now let me quickly show you the syntax, how you can do this. Okay, so let's start the uh, syntax. Let's start the program in Java that we can do for this activity. The first thing is, in Java, you must import a library, that is java.util.scanner. This library is going to help you to take the input from the user by making an object of scanner class. So must import this library at the beginning. Then you have the main function, and inside the main function, you have to do the coding. The first thing here is I must initialize some of the variables that I am using in this code. The data type will be integer because all of these variables are going to have numeric values. So there is a weight that is 0 in the beginning for the sack of rice. This is the individual weight of each of the sack of rice. The next is your total weight. This variable is used to calculate the total weight of all the sack of rice. Let's put a value 0 into it in the beginning. The third thing is int number of sacks. This will be used in counting in order to calculate the number of sacks that the user has input. Okay. Now let's take the input from the user for this first sack of rice. System.out.println. We can just show a display message first before entering the input. Sorry, taking the input, we must tell the user what you have to enter. So just write down, please enter weight of sack of rice. That is your display message. Enter weight of sack of rice. That's your output message that is helping the user in order to enter the weight. Once user will see this message, he's definitely going to enter some value and we will save that value into the weight variable. So write down weight equals my, oh, I missed one thing here. You must initialize or declare an object of scanner class before taking the input from the user, because this is what we do in Java. We must make an object first that is for the scanner class, because the scanner class is responsible to take the input from the user. So the code for that is scanner my obj, that is the object name, equals new scanner, and in the bracket write down your input statement, that is system dot in. That's your input statement. Now once you will display the message, now what will happen, the weight of the sack of rice entered by the user will be stored in the weight variable. So it will be weight equals my obj, that is the scanner class, dot next int. I'm using the method of next int in order to convert my input value into the integer value so that it will be stored in the weight variable. Remember that by default, whatever the user gives us the input, that is considered as the string value, and you cannot do the calculations, do the arithmetic operations on a string value. So you must convert that value into integer in order to calculate or use it in your calculations later on. For that reason, we have used next int integer function here to convert our input value into integer. Now, once you are done with your first input, what you will do, you will start with your while loop here. Yes, let's start our loop. While inside the while loop, you are going to check for the condition. So put a condition that must be true in order to go inside the loop. So remember that when the weight value is not equals to -1, you will keep on iterating, or you will have one new iteration, because -1 is your terminating condition. So keep in mind that weight must not be equal to -1 if you want to continue with the program or with the process. Okay, so inside the loop, what you will do, you will calculate the total weight first. So total weight will be, let me write small, it will be total weight, use the method of totaling. Total weight equals total weight plus weight. That's the method, the formula for totaling. Next, you will increment the number of sets plus plus. Next, you have to use the same output statement in order to take the output input from the user, system.out.println. This will be used to take the input second time, third time, and so on until the user wants to give the input. Please enter. Okay, I can just do one thing here. I'll copy the code from top and I'll paste it here because it is just the same. You have to just display the message to the user. Please enter. I'll just copy it first. Wait. You must display the output to the user that please enter weight of sack of rice. And once you are done with this, you will just take the result or the output of the user into the variable that is weight. So this is what is actually done here. Now what is the next thing? Once you will take the input of weight of the rice, then you will again check for the condition. If the user result or the weight entered by the user is -1, then you will terminate. Otherwise, you will keep on calculating total weight and increment the number of sets. So I hope that it is clear to you. Once you are done with your loop instructions, you will reach a condition where weight value is entered -1 by the user. So you will quit the loop instructions and then you will go down. Once you are done with your loop statements, you will go outside, and the fourth thing to be done in the activity is to take the output of the user or to show the output of total weight and the number of sets on the screen. So for this, I'm just using system.out.println. System.out.println. Here what I will be doing, look at this. I'll just display a message. Total weight of sack of rice. Total weight of sack of rice. Put a colon here, quotations off, then write down a plus sign in order to write the variable name whose value needs to be printed. So it is total weight variable whose value needs to be printed on the screen. The next thing that needs to be your output is number of sacks. So system.out.println is your output statement. Next to it, just write down number of sack of rice. That's your display message. Sack of rice, and then colons, quotation off, then plus sign, and write the name of the variable that was incremented whenever user enters something, some weight. Number of sacks is the variable that is used for counting here. Now this is all about your code. I'm going to dry run the code for you so that things will be more clear to you. In order to dry run, I'll make here two sections. First one is your memory. We must know that what is being done in the memory. And the second thing you need to monitor is your output, that how the output is going to be shown on your screen. So in the memory, the first three line of codes are basically you are initializing the variables and putting the value 0 into it. So somewhere in the memory, you will have a weight variable with a value 0 in it. Then you will be having a total weight variable. once these line of code are going to run. So these are the three variables that will be initialized with some values in your memory. Number of sacks that has a value 0 in the beginning. Okay, next to it is you have started with your input statement, and in the input statement you just made the object of a scanner class and you will use it once you want the input from the user. Next, system.out.println is your output statement that is going to show the user a message that please enter weight of sack of rice. Once the user will see this, he's going to write down, let's suppose we have three different sack of rice. Let's assuming that. So it has three different weights. First one is 20, then 10, and then 30. So the first one that the user enters is, let's suppose, 20. So this 20 is going to be stored in the weight variable. So in your memory, the weight will become 20 now. Next, you will go inside your loop. First, you will check the condition. If the condition is true, the weight value is, this time the weight is 20. It's not minus 1. So weight not equals minus 1. This is true. When the condition is true, you are going inside of your loop. Inside the loop, you're going to calculate total weight. So total weight plus weight is basically, total weight is 0. 0 plus weight value here is 20. 0 plus 20 equals 20. This 20 is going to be the new value for total weight. So just make the changes in the memory. Now total weight is 20, 20. Next, number of sacks will be incremented. It means from 0 now it will become 1. Okay. Next, again you will show the display message to the user, that is the same one. Please enter weight of sack of rice. Remember that this process will continue until the user enters -1. Please enter weight of sack of rice. This time the weight is going to be 10 by the user, 1010, and this value 10 will be stored in the weight variable just like before. So now the changes in the memory will be, instead of 20 it is 10 weight. Now once the user enters the weight value, you are going back to the loop to check for the condition. So the condition will become now 10 not equals -1. The condition is true. So what you will be doing, you will calculate total weight again. So this time when you will be calculating the total weight using the formula, the total weight was 20 in the first iteration. So 20 plus, this time total weight is, oh, not total weight, the weight value is 10 in the second iteration. So 20 plus 10 becomes 30. So 30 is going to be the updated value of total weight. Remember that the result of the total weight will be stored in the total weight variable. So 30 is going to be the updated value for the second iteration. Now next is you have to increment number of sacks. So it becomes 2 now, because the user has entered two weights for two different sack of rice. Now, quickly move towards your output statement telling the user, please enter weight of sack of rice. The output is just the same. This time the user enters the third weight, that is 30, 30. This 30 will be stored in the weight variable in the memory. So weight value is 30 now. We will check for the condition again. 30 not equals -1. The condition is true. So once the condition is true, you are going inside to calculate the total weight again. So the total weight value was updated to 30 in the previous iteration. 30 plus the weight value is also 30. 30 plus 30 becomes 60. So 60 is the new value for total weight that will be updated in the memory. 60. Now number of sec will be incremented to 3. Once you are done with this, you are going to show the user the display message, that is, please enter weight of sack of rice. Enter weight of sack of rice. So for the fourth iteration, let's suppose there are no more weights for the sack of rice. So the user must enter -1. This time when the user enters -1, you will check for the condition. Here the condition becomes -1 not equals to -1. The condition is not true this time. The condition becomes false. So whenever the condition is false, you will go out of your loop. You will terminate the loop. Okay, once the loop is terminated, no more loop instructions. You will just go out of your loop, out of the curly bracket, and then you will be having further more output statements here outside the loop. But these output statements are to show you the result. So here you will see on your screen total weight of sack of rice, total weight of sack of rice, and you must show the value that is present in total weight, that is 60. So let me just write down with a black marker 60. And the next thing is number of sack of rice is also your display or your output. Number of sack of rice, and show the result of number of sack, that is 3. The value is 3 in the memory. So this is your output result. I hope that output is clear to you. The output is just as expected because you had 3 different weights, 20, 10 and 30. So when you will take a sum of it, it will be 60. That is your total weight. And since the user has entered 3 sack of rice, so 3 is displayed on your screen as the number of sack of rice. So this is how this code is going to work. Now let me quickly show you this thing on a Java online editor so that you can see the live results. Okay, so here we go. This is my online Java compiler where I have written the same code in order to tell you that how we can see the results. So first you have to import java.util.scanner library in order to use the scanner class. Next, inside your class, you have the main method where you are going to program. We have initialized 3 variables: weight, total weight, number of sec with the value 0. Then we have initialized my object of scanner class. We made an object and then we will use it later on for our input. System.out.println, please enter weight of sack of rice is going to be the display message to the user for the first sack of rice. Once he enters the result, then it will be stored in the weight variable. Here we have used my obj, that is the scanner object. Then next int is basically used in order to convert the input to an integer value. Then you will go inside the loop, but before that you will check for the condition. Weight not equals to -1. Remember that if the condition is true, you will go inside your loop. So this time, let's suppose the user enters weight 10. So it is the condition is true, it is not equals to -1. You will go inside, you will calculate total weight, number of sec will be incremented. Then again, you will see the same message, please enter weight of sec of rice. Then the weight will be stored in the weight variable. Next, once you are done with all of your weights, you will see the display messages that are going to show you total weight of sack of rice and number of sack of rice. So let's quickly run this program. Okay, here let's write down 10 is the weight for the first sack of rice, 20 for the second, 30 for the third, and -1 when you want to terminate. So look at this. Total weight of sack of rice is 60 and number of sack of rice is 3. So this is the expected result. And one more thing is that let's suppose I don't have any sack of rice. So I will write down -1. In this condition, when you will be writing -1 in the start before your loop, so you will never go inside the loop because you will check for the condition to go inside the loop. So here weight is not equal to -1, but since weight is equal to -1 that you have input, so you will not going to calculate anything. So see the results. If it is -1, then total weight of sack of rice is 0 and number of sack you entered is 0. So this is how the code actually works. That's why I have written an output statement before the loop to incorporate -1. And then the later weights will be taken inside your loop. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope everything is clear to you. If you have any queries, you can comment below. I'm going to answer you definitely. Stay tuned, stay connected. Do not forget to subscribe the channel, because in the next video we are going to start with another important topic of programming, and that is string. Yeah, how we can do string handling in Java, in Python, and in Visual Basic. Stay tuned, stay connected. Bye bye.